So let's talk about 3 of the most powerful herbs for accelerating weight loss. I know so many of you who come to my channel, you're looking to build a fasting lifestyle that accelerates the weight loss process. And so many of you have done an incredible job. I want to take this conversation to a new level, which is, well, what is there potentially that we can use to speed up the weight loss process that is based off of science? And some of these things we might actually even be able to use in our fasting window. So we're going to dive in to 3 of the most powerful ones. I'm going to show you how you can effortlessly use them, and I'll talk about which ones can go in your fasting window. Are you ready? Here we go. Number 1, some of these are really unusual that you may or may not know, but number 1 is fenugreek for appetite control. So fenugreek actually comes in a seed. You can sometimes find it ground up in a powder. I found it in a tea. And I think the tea is really exciting because you could drink this in your fasting window. So if you think about it in your fasting window, those of you that are fasting and you're finding that you're getting hungry more often, maybe putting some fenugreek tea actually in the fasting window will kill that hunger. Now, the other fun part about fenugreek is it doesn't just stop with, the benefits don't stop with just hunger, but there also was another really interesting study that people who took fenugreek extract spontaneously had 13% fewer calories throughout the day. So we are definitely seeing the potential of fenugreek being that tea that you could sip on throughout your fasting window that is not only going to help with appetite suppression, but then maybe even when you go into your eating window and you go into food again, there's a possibility that you're going to consume less calories. That would be really interesting for those of you that tend to boomerang into your eating window. What if you drank fenugreek tea in your fasting window? Would it affect how you eat in your eating window? Okay, number 2 is chili peppers for burning fat. So we've got the fenugreek for controlling appetite, and we've got the chili peppers for burning fat. Now, some of you may already know this, that it's the capsaicin in the actual chili pepper that increases something called thermogenesis. And thermogenesis is where your body heats itself up and in that process, starts to burn more fat. And what they found about chili peppers that was so interesting was that people who had hot chilies, the hotter the better, by the way. So if you can handle spicy, amazing. But people that had very hot peppers had showed that they burned 7 to 10% more calories than people throughout the day than people who didn't. We also are seeing that with chili peppers, that it actually suppresses your hunger hormone. We call it ghrelin, and it is a hormone that when it spikes, you're hungry. But when you're including chili peppers, especially the hot ones with a lot of capsaicin in it, you are not only raising that temperature of your body, burning more fat, but that you're decreasing this hunger hormone, that it allows you to not go in too deeply into the food that might be the ones that are causing you to gain weight. We've got the fenugreek for a possibility for suppressing appetite. We're burning fat with the capsaicin in the chili peppers. By the way, things like cayenne pepper also works. So you can find lots of different versions of pepper. The trick is really the hotter, the better. Okay, number 3 is one that I've used in my clinic for years, and it's ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is an incredible herb because it helps to regulate what we call your HPA axis. The HPA axis is how your adrenals and your brain communicate with each other. So the interesting thing about ashwagandha, and by the way, I take it in a supplement form. So you could do it. I mean, that's usually, you might find it in tea. I have found it in tea before, but I also like to take it in supplements. And when stress goes up, I take it on a regular basis. But here's a scenario I want to run for you, and this might be your scenario. So let's say life has been incredibly stressful for you. and you're trying to learn this metabolic switch. You're trying to learn how to go into this fasting lifestyle and then how to eat really healthy foods. But your hunger, every time you go back into food, you're just so hungry, and you can't really fast very long because you seem to get hypoglycemic or your energy tanks. So then we look at all of these in conjunction with each other. What if during your fasting window you do some fenugreek tea, so you're suppressing your appetite? You could also, in your fasting window, do some of these stress relieving supplements like ashwagandha that will calm cortisol and help your body balance cortisol better. And then when you go into food, you decide you're going to go in with the hot peppers so that you can increase your fat burning capability. Now we're coming at this idea of weight loss from a lot of different angles. And one of the things that I hear so much from so many of you is that you need more tools, that sometimes you build these fasting lifestyles and maybe you drop 10 pounds, but you have, 100 pounds to go. Or sometimes you're doing everything right that I'm telling you, but your body's just not releasing weight. Well, we can lean into the medicinal quality of herbs to be able to help us, support us in this system. So we start to use ashwagandha to be able to support the adrenals, so our body knows it's safe to release fat. We start to use fenugreek to control our appetite, so when we go back into food, we're not famished and just eating everything. And then we accelerate the fat burning capabilities of our body by when we eat, we put in these hot peppers. So it's a multi-pronged approach that I'm going into more detail with you all. I think you'll find it that some of these little hacks are going to be easier, are going to be key for you to be able to get that accelerated weight loss. But what's not going to work, and I really want to point this out, is that a video like this, it would be very easy to walk away and be like, well, I just need to eat more peppers and drink more fenugreek tea and I'm going to lose weight. No, doesn't work like that. What I want you to know is that these three things are brilliantly designed to fit into a fasting lifestyle. And if you do these three things along with all the metabolic switching that I've taught you here on this channel, now we're creating this comprehensive approach to your body releasing weight.
We really lean into this idea that food is medicine, including herbs, then it makes our fasting state so much easier. One of the things that I'm teaching you all here is how to use this metabolic switch, where you use food to heal and then you go without food so that your body can heal. They're both healing states. But if we are chronically leaning into packaged food, man-made food, bad oils, toxic ingredients, then the sugar burner system is not healing. So let's clean this up, okay? And there are 3 herbs that I really, really like that can help heal the body and support specifically a really good nervous system. Remember, I talk a lot about the rushing woman syndrome and how we're just like on a go, go, go pace all the time. Well, these 3 herbs can really help calm the nervous system and help that rushing woman body and rushing man body. So let's dive into these 3. First is ashwagandha. So I think we all have heard of ashwagandha a lot. It's in, like, I know if I go to my local natural food stores, it's in all kinds of drink. It's in a lot of different supplements. I think we all, hopefully you have heard of it as, hey, that's really good for stress. And it is. The ashwagandha is incredible for helping heal your body from stress. And here's why. So it is rich in something that is called withanolides. Now, they are a natural sedative. So when you take ashwagandha, it's like calming you down. Okay, let's just take that concept for a moment and let's put it through the eyes of the menopausal woman, because I'm here to really help and support women through that process of perimenopause and menopause. It's massively important to my heart. One of the things that we know is that as progesterone comes down, our ability to relax from stress becomes more difficult. So it's in those moments that we need herbs like ashwagandha that act like a natural sedative, because progesterone was doing that, but progesterone is now making her exit. So as she makes her exit, we can bring ashwagandha in to help relax us. We also know if we've been living a rushing woman lifestyle where we are on go, 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 that our hypothalamus, pituitary adrenal axis, it's called the HPA axis, may be overused and fried out. So adrenals don't fry out. The whole axis fries out. And what research is showing is this with analytes, this component that ashwagandha has in it, that it can actually normalize and bring back the balance of your HPA axis. So what that does for you is that when you see a stressor or you think about a stressor, your body is able to have a normal cortisol response, as opposed to somebody who is overly stressed and is constantly secreting cortisol. When you take ashwagandha on a regular basis and it brings back balance of the HPA axis, you have appropriate cortisol response, where you get a little bit of cortisol and then your body relaxes. That's why we want to use something like ashwagandha to bring back this HPA axis. The other thing that we know based off of research is that not only is it a sedative, that like I told you, not only does it balance the HPA axis, but it can reduce anxiety, which is really important overall for perimenopause and menopausal women. And so the interesting thing though about ashwagandha, before I go to the next one, is that just make sure you get it in a capsule, because it does have a really strong smell. Ashwagandha in Sanskrit actually translates into horse smell. So it may not be good in a tea, it may be better in a capsule if you don't like the smell of horses. Second herb that I am a huge fan of, and drink on many occasions, is kava. So kava is incredibly good for sleep, and it has a component in it called a kavalactone. And kavalactones go into GABA receptor sites and stimulate the production of GABA. You know what else went into a GABA receptor site? Progesterone. So when you're after 35, for women, as progesterone goes down, nothing's going into that GABA receptor site, but kava can. And there is a lot of different ways that you can reach for kava. There are tinctures, there are teas, there are powders. It's pretty prevalent once you start to really open your eyes to it. Now, there have been numerous studies that have found that kava is incredible for improving sleep. There was one that I really want to highlight, which is a 2004 study of 61 people, that they found that not only were they able to fall asleep quicker, okay, my menopausal women, how many of us go to sleep and we're like, oh, I can't sleep, I can't sleep, I can't sleep. How many of us find that it takes forever to go to sleep? Kava can help with that. So not only is it going to help you go to sleep, but this study found that it decreased sleep disturbances, so you're not waking up, and it gave you an overall improvement in sleep quality, specifically REM and deep sleep. So a cup of kava tea before you go to bed can really help the whole sleep process. One of the tools that I use for kava is something that was I learned from Kauai Pharmacy, and I will put a link to them here in the notes. And they have a kava oil, and I will often put it on the bottom of my feet, the soles of my feet, and then put some socks on before I go to bed and let that just seep into my system. And it's a beautiful way to help me, especially when I was in my perimenopausal years, fall asleep a little quicker. Now, you might notice a couple of things about kava if you choose to go down the kava path. For starters, it can make your mouth numb if you drink it. So don't be freaked out if that happens. The second thing is that if you are going to buy it in the root form, that make sure you steam it in hot water for at least 15 minutes, because it takes time for it to get completely integrated into your tea. So if you're going to take like a powder or a root, make sure that you give it enough time. It tends to take a little more steeping time than some of the other herbs and roots that come from the ground. Okay, I got to interrupt this video because I have a free guide for you so you can master fasting. It's called A Beginner's Guide to a Fasting Lifestyle, and all you've got to do is click here and you can jump right in. Third thing, love this one, rhodiola for energy. So we had ashwagandha for stress, we had kava for sleep, and rhodiola for energy. Three really cool herbs the earth has provided us. And here's what's really cool about rhodiola. I geeked out on this one. I went deep down a path. I'm a fan of good energy, if you haven't noticed. I will do everything I can to keep my energy up, and rhodiola is one of those things. So it's a flowering herb that is native to Europe and North America. And it was originally used by the Vikings to increase endurance and physical strength. And it does this because it's rich in some really interesting compounds, 4 specific compounds. It's rich in 4 really unique compounds that not only help with endurance, but they reduce fatigue. And it's not only physical fatigue, but also mental fatigue. So when I'm talking about the endurance capabilities of rhodiola, I'm not just talking about the body, I'm talking about mental fatigue, which back with my menopausal women, as estradiol goes down, our ability to perform mentally can be hindered. And so when we go into rhodiola, we can actually improve our mental focus and endurance and be able to do that full work day that so many of us are trying to keep up with despite having low levels of estrogen. So a really interesting study in 2008 found that rhodiola taken daily will increase mental energy, will reduce burnout, and can increase a person's ability to mentally take on demanding tasks. So again, sounds like a perfect tool for my menopausal friends. And if you are in an extended fast, rhodiola is a great herb to use throughout a fast, especially if you're noticing that you're getting some brain fog as your body adapts to this fat burner system.
I've heard you say this many times. I've heard you say it today. I've heard you say it when I was on your farm, that the medicine, that this is medicine. And so talk a little bit about how you went from this high stress life to the Kauai farm to using the plants to start to heal your body. What is it about plants that we can use to help in the healing that we need to have from our modern rushing lifestyle?
Big question.
It is big. I know.
There's so much to the plants at the same time. It's the simplicity, right? It goes. It's this that we're after. So it's like words like cleansing, detoxing are certainly there, but also words like life force and circulation are also part of the plant medicine. So there's no linear aspect of it. It encompasses all that Mother Nature has to offer. At the same time, it's holistic. It's oneness in its delivery. So, like you're accessing all the powers of Mother Nature, the full spectrum rainbow, right? So orange turmeric and red chili peppers and cacao, magnesium and all the different vitamins and minerals and nutrients in the ground that aren't really accessible to human beings right now. Those rare spices and herbs that created the spice wars of yesteryear and the Spice Islands and the Spice War, all of that. Even the Indian Tea and Spice Company, basically the birth of global capitalism, was birthed on the back of herbs and spices. And so people were after this life force. And today that life force has gotten homogenized, it's gotten fertilized, it's gotten, stale, old. And so people look at herbal medicine, as I did growing up, and said, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Right.
Because it doesn't.
Right.
Because it doesn't.
Right.
But if you take the intention, and it's as simple as backyard gardening, certainly on Kauai, we're going to deliver another level of vitamins and minerals. It's going to be kind of, beyond the level you could do elsewhere, just given the soil and the air and the water. But in any case, freshness, intention, what you can do in your backyard gardens with herbs like mint and lemon balm, just drinking those plants every day, lavender, so many. If you look at the herbs they used in the most powerful empires in the world, whether it be Greece, the Roman Empire, India, Africa, all during those times, how were those cultures raised to have massive populations? And their medicine cabinet, thousands and thousands of years, was plant medicine, and it was fresh plant medicine, and it was plant medicine that was highly, highly sought after and honored. And so the herbs they come into the body, the beautiful colors, and just like a beautiful river attracts beautiful birds, these beautiful herbs come into the body and they clean, an otherwise polluted self. Or if the body's clean, they'll help, resonate and magnify an already beautiful being with more colors of the rainbow. And again, beautiful vitamins and minerals.
I love this word life force because I think it's really key to what you have created there. So would you say that when we're looking at the modern world, we're looking at the toxic food, the toxic thoughts, the toxic lifestyle, it's depleting the life force. But when we come to plants and herbs, what we're doing is we're rebuilding the life force in the body. But what I've heard you say many times, and why I think herbal medicine gets discredited, is that the life force of these plants comes from the soil. So if the soil is depleted and doesn't have enough nourishment and energy and life force in it, what they're growing out of that is going to be depleted, which is perhaps why your products work so well. And the best way that I could explain it in my own personal use is those darn black peppercorns you gave me. That almost one peppercorn lit my mouth on fire. I had never tasted a peppercorn like that. So is it that herbal medicine doesn't get enough credit right now because what we have access to is a weaker energy source than what you're growing on Kauai Farm?
Yeah, no question. I mean, like I said, we talked about the spice wars before. They traveled 18 months to 2 years. Christopher Columbus would travel from, Spain to the Spice Islands and lose 100 men over a 2-year period and come back with black pepper. He did that because he was going after life-saving medicine. If you look at the numbers, I mean, I don't really love to get into this, but it's got to be said. The spread between the money we invest in our plant medicine cabinet, true plant medicine, and what we invest in so many other industries, but let's just call it pharmaceuticals for now because it's the most relatable, is just massive, right? You're talking like here's this little, I wouldn't even call herbal medicine an industry. I wouldn't even call it it gets no money. There's no support.
Yeah.
So you have people in Vermont, you have people in New Hampshire, people in Seattle holding it down. San Francisco, outside of San Francisco, they're holding it down, the herbalism trade. Why? To take care of their families, take care of, their communities. As a culture, right? The American culture, the Western culture, our investment, we're not vested in herbal medicine. There's no investment.
Yeah.
So not being vested, having no knowledge of, having no experience of, is just it's such a big part, and changing that story, rewriting that story, the new narrative. That's what needs to happen. And what happens is foundationally, you've changed every molecule in your body, because the alkalinity in this is radical alkalinity. So yeah, when you get to pH, 7.2, and you're this beautiful spring water and you can ease and grace through life, then that's great. You can eat salads and soups and you're cruising. But before that, how do you interrupt a toxic diet? It's like, it's easy for me to rah, you got to stop eating that food. But it's like, well, you've been feeding me this food since the day you gave me the milk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I read out. You've been giving me this toxicity, and now you're telling me 50 years later, I got to stop? I'm hooked.
Yes.
So the radical alkalinity of herbal medicine comes in, and I can tell you it comes in, the genius of it, it comes in as softly and gently as you would like, and that's the brilliance of it. And as it comes in so gently, you can drink a half a cup, you can brew it strong, you can brew it light, you can sprinkle a little bit on your food, you can sprinkle a lot on your food. what's the worst that can happen? You detox a little more, you detox a little less. The side effects are a little headache. That's kind of the way it rolls. It's not, the side effects do not have to be told on a commercial. That's not the type of side effects they were talking about.
So well said. That was so well said.
Yeah. So in any case, that's where herbal medicine holds the key. Is it's foundational in its radical alkalinity, and that alkalinity is inevitably what's going to move the acidity in the body to a pH that is more in balance. It's more in balance with the universe and with everyday health.
Okay, where are my gals that are struggling with hormonal imbalance? Bloated, feeling like you're not making progress with weight loss? You need to add these foods in so that you can support better hormonal health. There is a lifestyle that estrogen wants you to live, and there is a lifestyle that progesterone wants you to live.